So it started on Monday. CAF inspection team arrived in the country and, of course, has been going round in different cities, starting with Nairobi, to inspect the specific venues that we are talking about. 5 of them, Nyayo, Kasarani, Kipchoge Keino, Machakos, and Kinoru Stadium in Eldoret. And an FKF team comprising members of the LOC as well has been taking the team round, and we have part of that team here today. Herbert Mwachiro is the event director and deputy CEO of CHAN 2018. Barry Otieno is the communication director for the Football Kenya Federation, and of course David Kwalimwa, a football analyst and as well a journalist with the Daily Nation here at Nation Media Group. Karibuni sana, gentlemen.
Asante sana.
So it's been a long week, Herbert, I can imagine. You taking the visitors around?
Yeah, it's been quite a hectic week, but all in the name of a job, and just to ensure that we bring one of Africa's showcase football tournaments right here at home.
Okay, so let's go straight to it. The first venue, of course, was the Nyayo National Stadium, and they walked around the internal facilities, media center, you know, changing rooms, executive rooms, and whatnot, and they did not seem excited about it as much, especially those specific facilities we are talking about. Yes,
I mean, yes, Nyayo, from the very beginning, we had no doubt about it, that there is a need for urgent work to be done to make it conform to certain standards. What they came and saw was the facility in its existing state, and at least because the team that came was also quite technical, it gave a lot of recommendations on what needs to be done and what to be done. There were some ideas already in place, but this has changed because of the discussions we had. And on the side of our team, we were actually with the Sports Kenya, because Sports Kenya are the body that's mandated to run stadiums in this country. So we had the project engineers who have actually been tasked to change the designs and make the necessary adjustments to the stadium in order to make it fit. It is something that will take some hard work, but it can be done. Let us not forget that our two flagship stadiums, basically Nyayo and Kasarani, were built way ahead of their time. They become like the grandfathers of stadiums in Kenya, and other stadiums within the continent have actually come behind them and passed them. So these stadiums now need to have an upgrade, and it can be done. It's nothing out is out of the norm. It's something that needs to be done on a quite urgent level. Okay.
So Barry, FKF proposed these 5 venues. How did you arrive at the specific 5 venues that we're talking about? Because initially you had been going around the country, including Mombasa, looking at what they have before you could present the 5 ones.
First of all, let me say that the issue of infrastructure, especially in the development of stadium, the challenge is not unique to Kenya. It's a challenge that you'd say is experienced in the whole of Africa. So when we went round to identify stadiums and talked to a couple of governors, government was involved, of course, we were looking at, we looked at Mombasa, we looked at Kisumu, then Eldoret, of course, the 5 stadiums that you mentioned. But then we realized that, one, at the county level, these 5 venues were actually interested in hosting this and had made some leeway. Kisumu, as you understand, there's the issue with the garbage that is outside. Mombasa are building stadiums which their capacity is not that is proposed by CAF, and so that's how we settled on these 5 stadiums. Remember, Machakos is a standby stadium, so the 4 stadiums are the ones that we are looking at.
David, let's talk about Nyayo first before we go to the other venues that we have. Nyayo, the playing ground might be okay, just a little bit of work needed, but these other facilities of changing rooms, media center and whatnot look in really bad shape.
Exactly, and possibly I'll start by disagreeing with Barry when he says that the challenge of stadium in Africa, probably in East Africa, because in other parts of Africa, I think there has been a lot of considerable work done in terms of production of stadiums and maintaining of the stadiums. You look at the previous continental tournaments that have been held, CHAN and AFCON, for example, and you can see that there's a lot of work that has been done to put up sports infrastructure in those particular areas. Back to your point, yes, Nyayo Stadium, if we are to use probably the recent event of the CHAN in Rwanda as a yardstick, or even the Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon as a yardstick, well, Nyayo Stadium won't even fit as a training ground to those events because those are high-class facilities. There's a lot of security in place. There are very many issues that have been worked upon in a modern way, as Herbert had put it earlier on. We're talking about a media center in Gabon, for example, that could host about 200 journalists at any given point, with with fixed-in computers, internet facilities. We're talking about very many other issues as well. As Herbert said, it can be done, but it's hell a lot of work considering the timelines involved.
Let's move to Kasarani, because that was the second venue on the same day on Monday, that is on the 20th. And Kasarani seems to be the only venue that does not need work, if any.
No, let me correct you that Kasarani needs minimal work. There are some minor adjustments because of the original design of the stadium. There are some things that are more suitable to athletics than to football. And this is where the delegation did pinpoint, once again I say, with the engineers present with us, to make certain adjustments to fit into the requirements for the CHAN 2018. As I said, it's not nothing that can be done. They can be done. We've looked at the designs. There will be some designs drawn with some adjustments on that. But in terms of the amount of work that can be put, and thankfully we also have the athletics event that is also going to spruce up Kasarani. Some of the requirements for athletics, as I said, are not tailor-made for football. Just to agree with David, the modern considerations of how we place journalists in a stadium, the media centers, media stands, is very, very important. And this is something that has developed over the years. When the originators of Kasarani, with the previous idea, maybe didn't imagine that the scope of the media would be this big as it is today, because media have grown tremendously. Technology has also advanced, so you need IT infrastructure to support their work, both on the pitch as well as in the stands, and as well as David says, a media center. That one is doable. I mean, I was in Gabon as well, and it was just a dome that was constructed right next to the stadium. That, my friend, we will do, and you will sit inside it.
All right. And now, because you bring Gabon up, you were in Gabon for the Africa Cup of Nations, and you saw the amount of work they put in terms of getting the venues ready, in terms of how the venues themselves looked, in terms of the media center, to be specific, because they're very critical about this. Compare that with what we have right now and what we are working towards. Are we going to meet the standards that the Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon had?
I doubt. Honestly speaking, in terms of the media center outside, I'll agree with him, it can. What struck me about the facilities in Gabon, basically, they're not quite big facilities. We're talking about 10,000, 15,000, 18,000 seater stadiums, 22,000 seater stadiums, but each with a seat for the fans, because the way the tickets are produced there, you have a seat number for each of the fans, so you can book your ticket and you know which gate you're going to go through, you're going to know which alley. But they're small, but stadiums, so to speak, in comparison to probably Nyayo and Kasarani, but put up in a very, very deliberate format in which it gets to house most of the needs that are required for hosting such an international event. You remember in Pogento, for example, the pitch wasn't the best ever you could see, but it was complemented in a way that you couldn't quite think about the pitch because of the drainage and what have you. Remember, there's a match between Mali and Ghana where the pitch was almost soaked. But back to the to what Herbert was saying, maybe just to emphasize it from a journalistic point of view, you need, as a journalist covering a football match, you need to be in a situation where you can put your computer somewhere and leave it and go, come back, get it. As in, it's some sort of compartment with some network plugin where you can log on to the internet, probably Wi-Fi, and it's supposed to be something that can host up to 100 journalists at any particular time, because as he says, technology is involved, and most journalists, even as they work, they want to do live updates of events, they want to take photos and come and send them. So that is a particular place that journalists don't mix with either supporters. It's just a particular a portion of the stadium just above the main stand or below the main stand, particularly designed and designated for journalists.
Can we achieve that? One word?
With Nyayo and Kasarani, maybe. Nyayo is a big problem because probably Herbert will put it right for us. I don't think they're going to put up seats at Nyayo Stadium for the fans, so it's going to be very tough. But for Kasarani, it's possible. It's possible.
Let's before we go to Kipchoge Keino Stadium, within the two stadia within Nairobi, Nyayo and Kasarani, we also need training venues, Barry. And for two, we need four then. Which are the venues, the training venues that we are talking about within Nairobi first? For the two venues.
I'll start by saying that we have identified around 6 venues, working closely with international schools, clubs. One of the venues is Utalii. We are looking at Nairobi School. We're also looking at Brookside. But these are things that I think Herbert can delve in much better, because he was involved in identifying the venues.
All right, Herbert, the Kipchoge Keino Stadium, the ones outside Nairobi, they seem to be the ones that need a lot more work. Kipchoge needs spectator stands, needs things like perimeter walls. I think they have one, but I'm not too sure if it's to the standard that CAF wants. A lot more other things. Kipchoge Keino, Kinoru, and Machakos, they're the ones that need a lot more work. What are we doing in the case of Kipchoge Keino?
Well, Kipchoge Keino needs an upgrade. No doubt about that.
Yes.
The good thing is a lot of work has already been done. The stadium, the contractual documents for the stadium have already been signed. The stadium has actually been handed over to the contractor who is on site and ready to commence work. The designs are in place. We are working closely with Sports Kenya to ensure that the specifications are made. And I must say, this tournament, CHAN, is indeed a wake-up call to various key stakeholders, among them Sports Kenya or any other sports-related body that is mandated to ensure that we have the correct infrastructure. We discussed, and one of the things that came out is, as the consumer, and we're the consumers, yourself, myself, the Football Federation, the players, these structures must be built in uniformity. They must be built in harmony. You can't just build a structure and say we're building a stadium without involvement of the Football Kenya Federation or something like that. Thankfully, we're at a stage, especially the outside stadiums, that we're able to now monitor, evaluate, adjust, change. What is on the back of our mind is the timelines. We are very much concerned about the timelines, but the good thing is we have seen that the resources are there, the teams are there, the contractors are there, and it's a matter of ensuring that we speed up the construction of these stadiums. Let me just give you a reference, which I know David will agree with me. The stadiums in Gabon, some of them were completed 15 days to the start of the tournament.
But does that give us then the...
No, I'm not saying we're going to finish a stadium 15 days. What I'm saying is, thankfully, we have some time to work here. We have contractors on the ground. I think we have been thinking about how we can even get additional manpower. We are talking with the ministry about using other state agencies, notably if we could get, and this is just a suggestion, the NYS to come into place and also help with the manpower for the big construction of the stadiums. So there are things that we are looking at. These stadiums are going to be built 24/7, 24 hours a day. We're not going to hold back. Already, I'll tell you, with Kipchoge Keino Stadium, the technology that is going to be built, used to build this stadium, there are going to be certain facets of the stadium that are going to be constructed off-site and then brought into the stadium. What you may see at the stadium may just be the structures, the holding structures there, but a lot will be happening off-site. And that's the kind of technology that is going to be employed to enable us to meet these deadlines.
All right. David, Machakos and Kinoru also, more so actually at Kinoru Stadium, where construction is going on, and a bit at Machakos Stadium. Those two venues, how easy will it be for them to host these championships? And the construction work that is going on, what is the pace that we need to be working at?
Well, I'm encouraged when Herbert says we're going to work day and night, because we surely have to work day and night to have them. We are yet to see possibly the architectural designs or how the stadium will look after. So we might have maybe an estimate of what is expected and where we are and where we're heading to. But as it stands, what can really give us most hope is, especially for Eldoret and Meru, is the goodwill that we have from the respective county governments to take this job over the line. The two governments have really been supportive to this course as compared to the other venues that were locked out earlier on. And with the contractor already in sight and Meru as well, and that is the only way we can say that we really believe, even if it's 10 days to the games, we will have something to use and we'll have something available. I would have preferred, because I'll get back to this and chip in, and this is surely for the national government. We knew as far back as 2014 that we were going to host this event. Remember, it was a political issue where the then FKF office did bid for the Africa Cup of Nations well beyond the deadline, and then they co-opted for CHAN. And then they knew about this, and it's been a dragging, and the new FKF office has come in and has played in a good part, has put in its shift to make sure that something is happening and something is running. I was very, very encouraged to meet Herbert in Gabon. It really showed that there's the eagerness to learn from the federation, and the president came in after the LOC was gazetted, and the president literally was running around Radisson Blue Hotel in Libreville to try and get audience with the top CAF shows to say that we're trying to do this. But the time time wasted is what we might come to regret in future.
All right. Joshua Makori, watu wanasema vipi katika mtandao?
Sana. Wanaongea sana hapa, manake tumuuliza tu kwamba nini maoni yako, nini mafikira yako kuhusu uandalizi wa dimba la CHAN mwaka ujao na mashindano ya riadha hapa nchini mwezi Julai. Yale mashindano ya riadha ni ya wanariadha ambao miaka yao haijapita umri wa miaka 18 sio 20 kumradhi. Huyu William H. Oluch anasema kwamba just another loophole to quench cash, not ready actually. Kauli yake hiyo muhimu. Huyu anaitwa Bundi Mshabana anasema tuned, ready to watch and through a remote where nobody can reach it. Kauli yake hiyo muhimu sana. I don't think whether Kenya will manage to host CHAN. The government is busy embezzling. Sijui kama msema vizuri jamani. Public funds. Kauli yake hiyo muhimu. Huyu anasema anaitwa Linda anasema at least let us host CHAN if we can't go to AFCON. That is not too much to ask from Kenyan soccer lovers. Yake hiyo nzuri. Huyu anaitwa IG anasema kwamba much needs to be put in place, i.e. fields and running tracks in the existing stadiums. Kauli yake muhimu hiyo. Anasema Moturi Anyona kwamba Kenya is not well prepared because of too many. Hapa akaamua kunicheza. Anataka nisomeje sijui jamani. In sports management and security. Hiyo nimeikimbia tu. Sitaki kujianika jamani. Haya, huyu anasema kwamba anaitwa Joshua Kwanya anasema kwamba ananitania, anasema leo namenyana na kizungu namna gani somo wangu. Kauli yake hiyo muhimu sana. Kwa hiyo endelea kuleta matweet yako ndani, mimi nitasoma kadri mnamimina na mimi nikipata mwanya nasoma hewani. Ndio unasikia raha tweet lako likisoma hewani. Edmond.
Back to our discussion with Herbert Mwachiro, Barry Otieno and David Kwalimwa. Wario talks about some 200 million shillings to be given to the LOC immediately to start work on. What are you doing with that money, first of all? And number two, he says that the total budget, 2.7B, will be released in 2 years, 2 financial years. How will that then affect your preparations?
I think, first of all, we must commend the government to actually ensuring that there is an allocation for cash. This has been passed. It has passed the various stages of Treasury. It has passed the stages of Parliament. This money for the tournament, at a minimum, is there. If there is need for more money as we work on the preparations, I'm sure the relevant government agencies will put in a request for a supplementary budget. But for now, 2.7 billion, has been secured with an advance of 200 million. Now, we've been working as a skeleton secretariat supporting the LOC. Now, this gives us an impetus to get our secretariat fully in place so that you, David, Edmond, you can come sit with Barry and discuss communications, matters CHAN. So basically, you're going to see a better flow of things in terms of operations running the CHAN. And this is because the resources have been made available. The structures are already in place. It was a matter of the resources coming into play.
Okay. Now, David, I want to talk about the issue of the budgets as well. It took a while, and CAF, as you remember, were seriously concerned about this, to the extent that FKF had to seek the audience of the ministry and the deputy president as well.
Yep. Firstly, with the yardstick, with Gabon as the yardstick, it's important to note that the 2017 African Nations Cup in Gabon was championed by President Ali Bongo.
Yes.
Not the respective minister for sport, not any other person. He was the one, apparently, who even went when they were constructing the stadium. When the CAF officials were around, he was the one who was going there with his team to ensure that the tournament is hosted. That shows the high level of commitment that Gabon had towards hosting that event. Obviously, Gabon, it was a political situation. They were coming out of a very tough election year, and they had this slogan, "We are Gabon," so that they can try and bring the country together using that tournament, which was a very good initiative, in my opinion. Here we have the CS of Sports, who yesterday admitted that he has very many other things to do apart from CHAN, because he said, I think he hosts the culture ministry as well and very many other things.
As well.
We accept the challenges and we live with them. It is good that the money is there, the 2.7 billion, which in my opinion is not enough. Again, using Gabon as the yardstick, because the government there really put a lot into play. Yes. Maybe if I can break down a few things that I'd said earlier that I saw in Gabon. There were 3 aeroplanes at the main stadium in Libreville, main airport in Libreville at any given time during the tournament.
Donated by the president.
Donated by the president.
Yes.
One specific, yes, there were. I used some of them, Herbert, and they were taking. I would
like to correct you, David.
Yes, please.
Some of these things were not donations. They were planned and budgeted for. They were used because the regular flights in Gabon schedules did not work. So they then had to hire those 3 specific jets, of which you had an opportunity to fly, and so did I. They were part and parcel of the Plan B arrangement.
At the intervention of the president?
No, not at the intervention of the president. It was the LOC that made that decision together with CAF.
All right. Herbert, let me just return that jump to Herbert before maybe we go on to something else. Let us appreciate the fact that we failed to host such a competition in Kenya before.
Yes.
So when we get critical on such subjects, we are getting critical with a reference that the Kenyan government has at some point, even if it's a previous government of this country, has at some point proven that it might not be serious or is not interested in hosting such a competition. And that is when we come here to try and tell Kenyans what we've seen about how governments are helping other sports countries to come up with such an initiative. Let's forget about aeroplanes, for example. It might be a luxury in Kenya because the road network is such, it's okay.
Yes.
Let's look at the transport of teams, for example, at issues like the stewards, what do you call them? The name has just disappeared. There are very many things that the government in Gabon did out of its own goodwill,
yes,
to ensure that this tournament takes off. Okay. And that goodwill is what makes me arrive at the situation this 2.7 billion might not even be enough.
This issue of the goodwill, yes, and you're the first point of contact for CAF, because they are not going to go to the government directly. They come to you as the Football Kenya Federation. This issue of goodwill, and you've had to do a lot of work on it to get the government into you know, the mindset that needs to be developed going forward with this tournament. How difficult is it going to be for you as a federation to actually move on with this without the support of the government?
I think, Edmond, people should not question government's commitment to hosting CHAN. And it's also important to tell David and others who are of the same opinion that people respond to circumstances differently. 2.7 billion cannot be passed without the goodwill of the highest office in the land.
Yes.
And so government are fully behind this. There are meetings that I would want to discuss here publicly that are ongoing, and they have showed us and they have demonstrated, they have also committed to ensuring that CHAN 2018 will be a reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. FKF President Nick Mwendwa had something to say as well about this. This is what he talked about.
And a detailed analysis of each of them. They have also visited our hotels. They have visited our training venues. Remember that for each of the 4 venues we will need 2 training venues. They have visited them, and they have done a fantastic detailed report on what we need to do to get there.
About timelines, you know, Supetu said, you know what Suketu, I beg your pardon, says, as it stands right now, there's nowhere else this tournament is going. Kenya will host it, but we all know about the threat of Morocco and Ethiopia lining up as well. And we have been given until September or October in the latest to be able to be ready for this specific tournament. If we are not, Herbert, and again this comes back to you, if we are not ready and we lose this,
I don't know why you're such a pessimist.
If. I use the word if.
Yeah, I don't know why, and I'll repeat, I don't know why you and David are such pessimists.
You have to be positive yourself.
Because Barry and I, we're in the club optimists. Yeah, but you guys and others are in the club pessimists. But nevertheless, gentlemen, the seriousness of the matter is acknowledged. The time factor is key. In any key project, and here we're now looking at elements of project management where the time factor in ensuring that we have the facilities ready. We are not blind to the fact that there's another inspection coming up in June.
Yes.
And we are intending to ensure that when the second inspection happens in June, the team that will come will see more in place than they have seen now in February. So you can imagine between now, we already have the first time schedule that we need to beat, and that is between now and June. So much must have happened. And then from June to October, that's another phase. You know, in total, we'll have another 2 inspections happening. In the meantime, going back to the goodwill, CAF are willing to and will support us on various things. They will support us on the pit preparation in all the 4 stadiums, because all the 4 stadiums, to be very honest, and let me tell you now, need a total makeover in terms of turf.
Yes.
They will also help in the training grounds, because our football is played differently. This is a country that plays football during the day, not at night. So there are certain dynamics that have to be put into place. We must emphasize that football is played on nice fields. When I go watch Kotbiro, sometimes I want to cry, because when I see guys playing on dust, that is not how football is meant to be. But that's another story for another day, and I'm sure we can always have time to talk about it. But in terms of the timelines, we have until June to move from where we are now to then, and then from June to October. So this, we are looking about a shade of about 8 months. We are very cognizant of that fact, that there's a lot that needs to be done.
Barry, the president of the Football Federation of International Football Association is in Africa, and he is just right next door in Uganda. He bypassed Kenya. First of all, what is the agenda in Africa?
I can't speak for FIFA. I'm only a spokesperson for FKF.
Yes.
And we believe that next time he comes, he'll come to Kenya.
So let me add my brother Barry here. Barry, just so that the FIFA president will be our guest next year, the Chan. Yeah, simple as that.
If we host it, David.
There's no ifs here.
Okay, Kenya's biggest friend right now is CAF.
Yes.
I was very impressed by the goodwill, the body language of CAF officials yesterday.
Yes.
In terms of hosting this tournament, and I'll tell you, under normal circumstances, they would have taken it away from Kenya from what they saw. But it just so happens that CAF really wants this tournament to be in Kenya for some reason, either because there have been so many tournaments in West Africa, or it's a political situation at CAF right now, and the top brass needs as many friends as possible as it stands right now, and getting the tournament out of Kenya won't do them favors, or for one reason or another. But CAF really, you will see it, and I think the Vice President Suketu said it 3 or 4 or 5 times within that press conference, we want this tournament to Kenya. It's just one point that he was pushed to the wall. He said, we don't want to do what happened to Madagascar, but if we're forced to do it, we'll do it. What happened in Madagascar? The tournament was taken away from Madagascar earlier this year, the Under-17 African Nations Cup, and it was, and because Madagascar, because of a report from CAF's inspection team to Madagascar, although there's also a report it was political, because the Madagascar FA president wants to vie against Hayatu. So that is the biggest, in my opinion, I wouldn't really bank on the government based on history, but CAF is Kenya's biggest friend right now.
All right, let's forget the engineering and talk about the art, football, actual football on the field of play. And this has to do with the SportPesa KPL All-Stars. They play Hull City on Monday next week. Is this a good initiative for Kenyan football?
Indeed, it is. I mean, it shows that we're looking to change our football. We're looking to link up with different partners. We're looking to expose our players at a different level. When I look at the paper today and I see pictures of where they are training, and then I go back to the Kotbiro issue, you can see what we need to do and what we shouldn't do. And I know David is holding his head.
All right. Barry, your thought on the KPL All-Stars? Of course, the national team head coach is leading the
Stanley,
team.
Yes. I think a good initiative, but not only for Stanley as a head coach. Of course, this gives him a chance to see his players at a different level, different environment. Also good for the players to experiment and actually know other footballing cultures. So I think it's a plus going forward.
They received media training and among other things, so it's not just about the football. How critical is this in developing them as, holistic professionals?
Obviously, it's very critical for the players, most of them whom are not quite versed with how to respond to the public audience through the media for them. But yet again, probably this is the best also chance for Kenya, probably to maintain half of that team to be the Chan team, because most of them have domestic players, and depending on how they play, they already winners having gone there and having played against Hull City. It's a very good initiative that will get to support and see how it goes. I'm just a bit concerned that some players missed continental engagements so as to be in that team, which in my opinion was very unfortunate. But again, just to get back to the training ground, lessons to pick there, obviously, considering the county government of Nairobi has thrice in the last 4 years said they're going to rehabilitate Kotbiro grounds, and it didn't happen.
That has been said a lot of times. Thank you so much, Herbert Mwachiro, Barry Otieno, and David Kwalimu are talking about the preparations towards CHAN 2018.